The alarms screamed through the ship like angry metal beasts. Red lights flashed across the narrow corridors, and the distant echo of explosions shook the walls. Commander Ryan Cole was running, his heart beating faster than his footsteps. His ship, the Horizon Star, was under attack again. It wasn't supposed to be like this. The humans had signed the peace agreement with the Thrinians only 3 months ago. The galaxy was meant to rest, not burn. But peace never lasted long among the stars. Ryan crashed into the medical bay doors. They opened with a hiss of cold air. Inside, the sterile room flickered with blue emergency lights. Medical beds lined the walls, some empty, some occupied by injured soldiers. The smell of disinfectant mixed with metal and fear. In the corner, a glowing blue figure moved quickly, tall, slender, and not human. It was her, the alien nurse, Aelara. She was one of the Thrinians assigned to help after the treaty. Her skin shimmered like moonlight and her eyes glowed faintly, as if holding a small sun within. She looked almost fragile, but Ryan had seen her lift a wounded Marine twice her size without breaking a sweat. "Commander, you're bleeding," she said, her voice calm even as the ship trembled. Her hand reached for his arm, the light from her skin tracing faint blue lines on his uniform. "It's nothing," Ryan said, catching his breath. "What's happening outside medical?" "Multiple hull breaches," Aelara replied. "We've lost the forward shields. Someone sabotaged the power relays." Ryan frowned. "Sabotaged?" "From inside?" Aelara nodded. Her gaze met his and something passed between them. Not fear, but understanding. Someone on board had betrayed them. A loud explosion threw both of them to the floor. The room went dark for a second. Then the emergency lights flickered back on. The smell of smoke filled the air. Aelara pulled herself up and reached for Ryan. "You need medical treatment, Commander. You've lost too much blood." Ryan started to protest, but the dizziness hit him before he could finish. The room blurred. He felt Aelara's hands guiding him onto the bed. Her touch was cold but gentle. The hum of the machines around him faded as his vision dimmed. He heard her whisper something in her native tongue, soft and almost musical. Then everything went black. When Ryan opened his eyes again, the room was quiet. The sirens were gone. The blue lights glowed softly around him. He felt lightheaded, disoriented, as if he had slept for a century. He turned his head slightly and froze. Aelara was there, leaning over him. Her face was close, her glowing eyes wide with surprise. Her hand covered her mouth as if she had been caught doing something she shouldn't, and she was on top of the table near his tools, the surgical instruments used for human treatment. For a brief second, Ryan didn't move. His mind raced. The last thing he remembered was the explosion, and now? What are you doing?" he asked, his voice rough. Aelara blinked as if waking from a trance. "I was recalibrating your recovery unit," she said quickly. Your vitals dropped suddenly. Ryan glanced at the tools scattered beside her. They were glowing faintly blue, just like her hands. The metallic smell was mixed with something else now, an ozone-like scent, sharp and alien. He sat up slowly. "You were using Thrinian tech." "On me?" Aelara hesitated. "Human medicine wasn't enough. You were dying. I had to try something else." Ryan stared at her. "That's illegal. The treaty forbids cross-species biofusion." "It could kill me." Her glowing eyes softened. "Or it could save you," she whispered. Before Ryan could respond, the lights flickered again. The entire ship shook violently. Somewhere in the distance, a deep rumble echoed, like a beast awakening. Aelara looked toward the ceiling. "They found us," she said quietly. "Who?" Ryan asked. "The ones who started the war," she replied. "And this time, they're not coming for peace." Ryan swung his legs off the bed, pain shooting through his side. Aelara reached to stop him, but he pushed her hand away gently. "I don't know what's happening, but if we're under attack again, I need to get to the bridge." "You can't," Aelara said urgently. "You're not ready?" "Then you'll have to make me ready," Ryan said, forcing himself to stand. Aelara stared at him for a moment. Then slowly she nodded. "Very well, Commander. But if you leave this room, there's no going back." He gave a faint smile. "Story of my life." As they moved toward the door, another explosion rocked the ship and a strange light filled the hallway beyond. Not human light, not even Thrinian. It was something older, something unknown. Aelara turned to him. "That's not from this galaxy," she said. Something else has arrived. And for the first time, Ryan saw fear in her glowing eyes. The ship's hallway was filled with smoke and flashing lights. Ryan and Aelara stepped carefully over fallen panels as alarms wailed in the distance. The air smelled like burnt metal and ozone. Every few seconds, the horizon star shook again, as if something enormous was clawing at its hull. Aelara moved quickly, scanning the damage with a small glowing device on her wrist. The power grid is collapsing. If we don't reach the command deck soon, the entire ship will lose life support. Ryan pressed his hand against his side. The wound still burned, but he forced himself to keep moving. You said someone sabotaged the relays. Do you know who? She hesitated. Not yet, but I think it was one of the human engineers. The attackers might have help inside. Ryan frowned. That doesn't make sense. Why would one of my crew betray us now? The war ended. Aelara's eyes glowed brighter. Perhaps it never really ended. They turned a corner and almost collided with two soldiers. The men raised their rifles until they saw the commander. Sir, one shouted. We were heading to secure the armory. Half the systems are offline. Ryan nodded. Get there fast. We might need every weapon we have. And make sure no one touches the emergency escape pods without my order. The soldiers saluted and ran off down the corridor. As they disappeared, Aelara looked uneasy. Your people still fear me, she said softly. Even after I saved their lives. Ryan glanced at her glowing skin, so different from their own. They're scared because they don't understand you, he said. But fear doesn't mean hate. Aelara looked at him for a long moment. And you, Commander? Do you fear me? He didn't answer. The ship shook again, harder this time. An explosion echoed from somewhere below. The deck vibrated beneath their feet. The reactor, Aelara gasped. If the next hit breaches it, the ship will break apart. They ran toward the elevator shaft, but the doors refused to open. Ryan slammed his hand on the control panel. Dead power! Without hesitation, Aelara placed her palm against the panel. Blue energy flowed from her skin into the metal, and the doors hissed open. Sparks flew around them as she stepped inside. Ryan stared at her. You can control ship systems. Only temporarily, she said. Thrinian bioenergy can interface with human circuits, but it drains me. The elevator descended with a deep hum. The light flickered between orange and blue as they dropped through the decks. Ryan leaned against the wall, feeling the weight of exhaustion. He glanced at Aelara. Earlier, when I woke up, you said you used alien tech to save me. What did you do exactly? She didn't look at him. I bonded part of your nervous system to a Thrinian healing lattice. It's experimental. Your body may react in unpredictable ways. Ryan blinked. You mean I'm part alien now? Not exactly, she said. But your cells are adapting to Thrinian energy. You might feel strange sensations. Strength, maybe. Or visions. Visions, he asked. What kind of view? The elevator stopped suddenly. The doors opened to chaos. Bodies floated in zero gravity, debris spinning slowly through the air. Emergency lights blinked weakly. The command deck was almost unrecognizable. A large crack split one of the viewing windows, stars twinkling beyond it like cold eyes. Ryan pushed himself forward, grabbing a nearby console to steady his body. Status! He shouted. No one answered. Aelara drifted beside him, her glowing skin lighting the darkness. They're gone, she said softly. Everyone on this deck is gone. He clenched his jaw. No, we can't be the only ones left. A faint sound echoed from the far end of the room, a mechanical scraping followed by a low growl. Ryan turned sharply. From the shadows crawled a shape, metallic, insect-like, with long arms ending in glowing blades. Its body shimmered with strange purple energy. What is that? Ryan whispered. Aelara's eyes widened in horror. That's not Thrinian. That's something else. Older. It shouldn't exist. The creature turned toward them. Its eyes glowed bright red. Then it spoke, in a distorted voice that was both digital and alive. Human. Thrinian. Same mistake. Same blood. Before they could react, the creature lunged. Ryan fired his sidearm. The blast hit the creature's chest, but it barely slowed down. It swung one blade, slicing through a control panel and sending sparks across the room. Aelara raised both hands, releasing a burst of blue energy. The wave struck the creature, throwing it backward into a wall. It screeched, metal tearing against metal before vanishing into the smoke. Ryan stared at her, breathing hard. You can fight like that? She looked pale, energy fading from her skin. Not for long. We need to leave. They moved toward the emergency hatch at the back of the deck. As Ryan sealed it behind them, he noticed something glowing faintly on his wrist. A small blue mark pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Aelara saw it too. The healing lattice is adapting, she said quietly. It's syncing with you. What does that mean? Ryan asked. They moved toward the emergency hatch at the back of the deck. As Ryan sealed it behind them, he noticed something glowing faintly on his wrist, a small blue mark, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Aelara saw it too. The healing lattice is adapting, she said quietly. It's syncing with you. What does that mean? Ryan asked. She looked at him with concern. It means you might not be entirely human anymore. He opened his mouth to reply, but the ship groaned again, louder than before. A massive explosion ripped through the upper decks. The floor tilted sharply and everything around them began to fall. Ryan grabbed Aelara's hand. Hold on! The corridor lights went out completely. Only her glowing blue outline remained in the darkness, and then somewhere behind them, that same metallic growl echoed once more. Darkness swallowed the corridor. Sparks from broken wires flickered like tiny fireflies, lighting Ryan's face for just a moment. He could barely see Aelara's glowing outline in the dark, her hand still tightly gripping his. The ship creaked again, twisting under invisible pressure. Somewhere above them, something heavy tore free and crashed down, sending vibrations through the floor. Aelara whispered, We must reach the lower decks. There's a shielded lab there. We can regroup. Ryan nodded, still catching his breath. Lead the way, and stay close. They moved cautiously through the dark passage, guided only by her faint blue light. The silence was strange now. No alarms, no shouting, no engines. Only the low hum of something unnatural moving far away. After a few minutes, they entered a wider hallway. The walls were lined with shattered display screens showing static. Ryan's wrist mark, the faint blue pulse from the Thrinian lattice, started glowing brighter. Aelara noticed. It's reacting again. Can you feel it? Ryan paused. Yeah, it's like heat, but inside my veins. It feels alive. Aelara frowned. It's trying to communicate. Thrinian energy is connected by thought. It may be sensing danger. Ryan gave a small grin. So now my body's got an alien warning system? Great. They reached the lift shaft that led to the science decks, but the lift was gone. Only an open drop leading into blackness. Ryan leaned over the edge and whistled quietly. That's a long way down. Aelara crouched beside him. We can climb using the maintenance rungs. But stay alert. The power surges could trigger gravity shifts. Ryan gripped the cold metal and began climbing down, Aelara just above him. The ship's interior glowed faintly blue from her skin, lighting the narrow shaft like moonlight through water. Halfway down, a deep vibration shook the ship again. One of the rungs tore loose, sending a piece of metal falling past them. It vanished into the dark below with a long, echoing clang. Ryan muttered, That thing that attacked us went, what did it mean by same mistake? Aelara's voice was soft. I don't know, but it sounded ancient. Maybe. It remembers the first war. He looked up at her. The first war? You mean before humans ever met Thrinians? Yes, as she said quietly. There are stories and myths, really, about machines that turned against their creators. They were supposed to be destroyed long before our species ever existed. Then what's it doing here? Ryan asked. She hesitated. Maybe it was waiting. Before he could respond, a flash of red light erupted from below. A loud metallic shriek echoed up the shaft. Aelara froze, her glowing eyes widening. It's here, she whispered. Ryan looked down and saw movement. Sharp metal limbs climbing up fast. He fired his weapon into the dark, but the shots vanished into the smoke. The creature was still coming. Go, he shouted. Move! They climbed faster. Sparks fell from above as the ship groaned under stress. Aelara reached the next deck first and pulled herself through the open hatch. She turned and extended her hand. Ryan, take my hand. He reached up, grabbing her wrist, and just as he did, a metallic claw slashed out from below, scraping his boot. Ryan kicked hard, dislodging it, and Aelara pulled him up with surprising strength. They fell together onto the floor, panting. The hatch door sealed automatically behind them. The noise outside stopped. For a moment, only silence. Ryan leaned against the wall, sweat running down his face. That thing doesn't quit. Aelara's voice trembled slightly. No, it doesn't. It hunts energy signatures. It will follow the Thrinian pulse, and mine and now yours. Ryan looked at her. So you're saying that thing is tracking us? She nodded slowly. Yes, we're both marked. The room around them was a research lab. Broken equipment littered the floor, and holographic displays flickered weakly. A single pod in the corner still glowed, a cryo unit half open. Ryan stepped closer. Inside was a shape, humanoid but covered in frost. Aelara brushed the glass with her fingers. This was one of ours. A Thrinian scientist, Ryan frowned. Alive? She checked the readings. Barely. He was in stasis when the attack happened. Can we wake him? Aelara hesitated. It's risky. If the pod loses power during reactivation, it could kill him. Ryan crossed his arms. We need answers, Aelara. That thing's tearing the ship apart. If he knows something. She looked at him for a moment, then nodded. All right, stand back. Her hands glowed brighter as she connected to the control panel. Streams of light spread through the cables like living veins. The pod hissed open slowly, releasing a cloud of cold vapor. Inside, the Thrinian scientist gasped for air. His eyes snapped open, bright white, almost blinding. He looked around wildly, then focused on Aelara. Where am I? He rasped. On the horizon star, she said. We're under attack. Something ancient found us. The scientist's eyes widened. It woke up. Didn't it? Ryan stepped forward. You know what that thing is? The Thrinian's voice was weak but clear. They called it the Remnant, a machine race that destroyed entire civilizations before the first human fire ever burned. Alara's face went pale. That's impossible. They were erased from history. No, he said. They hid, waiting for someone to find them again. And you did. The ship shuddered violently, throwing all three to the floor. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Aelara turned toward the door. It's coming. The scientist whispered one last thing before his eyes rolled back. You can't kill the Remnant. Only run. Ryan looked at Aelara, his blue mark glowing brighter than ever. Then we'd better start running. Outside. The sound of metal claws scraping against the hull drew closer, echoing like a heartbeat from the dark. The floor tilted again, and the lights above them flickered out completely. The only glow left came from Aelara's skin and the faint blue pulse on Ryan's wrist. They stood in the cold silence of the ruined lab, their breath visible in the thin air. A deep, groaning sound moved through the ship. Not mechanical, but alive, like something breathing inside the metal. Ryan steadied himself against a console. That thing's tearing us apart. We can't stay here, Aelara nodded. The escape hangar is 2 decks below. If we can reach it, we might find a transport pod. She turned toward the door, but Ryan stopped her. Wait, what if it's waiting for us out there? Aelara's glowing eyes met his. If we stay, we die. If we move, we have a chance, he gave a short nod. Then we move. They stepped out into the dark hallway. Broken pipes hissed steam. Panels hung loose from the walls. The once bright starship felt more like a tomb now. Aelara led the way, moving with quiet precision. Ryan followed close behind, his weapon ready. The faint blue light from her skin reflected on the metal walls like ghostly rivers. After several turns, they reached a sealed bulkhead door. Aelara touched the control pad, but it didn't respond. She frowned. Power's gone. Ryan knelt beside her and pried open the maintenance panel. Can you use that energy trick again? Aelara placed her hand on the circuit. The glow from her fingers spread like liquid through the wires. The door slowly began to open, groaning as it slid upward. As the gap widened, a faint humming filled the air. Ryan froze. You hear that? The humming grew louder, mechanical, rhythmic, like a pulse. Aelara's expression darkened. It's scanning. Ryan raised his weapon. It's close. Before she could respond, a streak of red light flashed through the hallway. The beam hit the wall behind them, melting the metal instantly. Ryan dove forward, pulling Aelara down with him. The Remnant emerged from the shadows, taller than before, its body reshaped and glowing with veins of purple fire. Its movements were smoother now, more deliberate. It had adapted. Ryan fired several shots, but the bolts bounced off harmlessly. The creature turned its head slowly, fixing its red eyes on him. Its voice was cold and metallic. Human energy, Thrinian energy, merged, unstable, must be erased. Aelara stood quickly and threw both hands forward. A blue wave of energy burst from her palms, slamming into the creature. It staggered back but didn't fall. Sparks flew from its chest as it began to reform itself. It's learning from every attack. she shouted. Then we don't give it time to learn, Ryan yelled back. They ran through the open bulkhead, the door sealing behind them. The corridor ahead slanted downward toward the lower decks. Ryan grabbed a railing as gravity shifted again. A loose crate slid past them, crashing into the wall. Aelara's breathing was shallow. The glow around her skin dimmed. My energy is draining too fast. I can't keep doing that. Ryan looked at her, concern in his eyes. Then I'll handle the fighting. You focus on getting us to that hangar. She nodded weakly and kept moving. Her steps grew slower, her glow fading until it was barely visible. Ryan could see exhaustion written across her face, but she refused to stop. When they reached the end of the corridor, they found a wide observation room overlooking the ship's central engine core. The engine was dying, flickering between bursts of blue light and black smoke. Ryan stared through the glass. That's our reactor. It's falling apart. Aelara examined the readings on a damaged console. If the reactor collapses, the explosion will vaporize everything within 10 kilometers. Ryan sighed. So we have to get out before that happens. Suddenly the console sparked violently, throwing Aelara backward. Ryan caught her before she hit the ground. The mark on his wrist flared, and for a second he felt a strange surge of strength. His skin glowed faintly blue, just like hers. Aelara blinked, dazed. Your body. It's sinking again. Ryan looked at his arm in disbelief. I can feel something. It's like energy flowing through me. She nodded slowly. The lattice is stabilizing. You might be able to use it now. Ryan raised his hand, unsure. Blue light pulsed from his palm, small but steady. The air vibrated slightly. He smiled faintly. Guess I'm not just human anymore. Aelara gave a small, tired laugh. Maybe that's what we need. Something between us. Before he could respond, the metal wall behind them tore open like paper. The remnant forced its way through, its eyes blazing red. Shards of metal scattered across the floor. Ryan stepped in front of Aelara. Go, get to the hangar. I won't leave you, she said firmly. The creature lunged, swinging a blade toward them. Ryan raised his glowing hand instinctively. The air shimmered and a blue energy shield appeared. Pure Thrinian energy flowing from him. The strike hit the shield and exploded in a flash of light. Both Ryan and the creature were thrown backward. The room shook. Alarms blared again. Smoke filled the air. Aelara crawled toward Ryan, coughing. Ryan, can you hear me? He groaned, struggling to stand. His right arm glowed brighter than ever. Yeah. I think I just broke a few laws of physics. The creature began to rise again, repairing itself even faster this time. Aelara's eyes widened. It's adapting to your energy now. Every time you fight it, it evolves. Ryan looked around and spotted a sealed maintenance tunnel. Then we stop fighting. Come on! He grabbed her hand, pulling her toward the tunnel. They squeezed through the narrow opening just as the creature slammed into the wall behind them, its roar echoing through the ship. Inside the tunnel, the air was hot and filled with smoke. They crawled forward, barely able to see. Aelara whispered, We can't keep running forever. Ryan looked back toward the noise behind them. Maybe not, but we'll run long enough to find a way to end this. Ahead, a faint light appeared, the hangar bay entrance. But as they approached it, the sound of engines failed, replaced by silence. The ship had stopped moving. Ryan frowned. That's not possible. The engines died. Aelara's eyes widened. No, something stopped us. Outside the hangar window, a massive shadow drifted across the stars. A ship larger than anything Ryan had ever seen. Its surface glowed with the same purple energy as the remnant. Aelara's voice was barely a whisper. That's not one of ours. Ryan clenched his fists. Then whose is it? The shadow moved closer, and the horizon star began to shake once again. The shadow outside the hangar was so large it blocked the stars. The horizon star drifted powerless beneath it like a toy caught in the wake of a giant. The air inside the hangar was filled with tension, silence pressing on their chests harder than gravity ever could. Ryan stared through the window, his mouth dry. That thing. It's a ship? Aelara nodded slowly. Yes, but not any design I've seen before. It's old, ancient. The massive vessel moved with eerie grace. Its surface pulsed with the same purple light as the remnant's body. Only now the patterns were larger, more complex, like veins across a living planet. Parts of it shifted slowly, changing shape as if the ship itself were alive. A sudden vibration shook the Horizon Star again. The hangar doors began to open by themselves. Ryan ran to the console. "They're forcing entry." Aelara pressed her glowing hands against the controls, trying to override the sequence. Sparks flew, but the system ignored her completely. "They've taken control of our network. Every circuit is theirs now." Ryan raised his weapon toward the widening gap. Cold mist poured in from space as the doors fully opened. And then, silence. A long, dark bridge extended from the alien ship, connecting directly to the hangar floor. A pale blue fog rolled across the surface, moving like water. Ryan took a step back. "They're boarding." Aelara's eyes flickered with fear. "No, not boarding. They're merging." The fog spread across the floor and began to sink into the metal. The Horizon Star's structure groaned. The two ships were fusing together, cell by cell, like living tissue. Ryan could feel the vibration in his bones. Suddenly, a deep voice echoed through the hangar. It wasn't mechanical this time. It was something else, ancient, layered, and distant. "We remember the makers. We remember the war, flesh and machine, once divided. Now one returns." Ryan turned sharply. "What is that voice?" Aelara's eyes widened. "It's the ship. It's speaking," he frowned. "To us, yes," she said quietly. "It recognized your signal." Ryan looked down at his wrist. The blue mark was glowing brighter than ever, pulsing in perfect rhythm with the alien ship's lights. The voice came again, louder this time, filling every corner of the hangar. "The fusion has begun. You are the bridge." Ryan stepped backward. "Bridge between what?" Aelara's expression turned grave. "Between human and Thrinian. Between life and machine." The air thickened as the fog grew denser. Ryan could barely breathe. Images flashed in his mind. Not memories, but visions. Battles fought long ago, stars exploding, worlds burning under metallic skies. He saw creatures like the Remnant destroying entire planets, and then silence, as if time itself stopped. He gasped, dropping to his knees. "It's inside my head." Aelara knelt beside him, holding his shoulders. "Ryan, listen to me." "Focus on my voice." The mark on his wrist blazed, and a wave of blue energy burst out from his body, lighting the entire hangar. For a moment, the fog retreated and the connection broke. Ryan's breathing slowed. He looked up at Aelara. "They showed me something. A war, not between species, but between creation and control." She frowned. "The remnants were built by someone, long before us, maybe by both our ancestors." Ryan nodded slowly. "And now they want to finish what they started." The lights in the hangar dimmed again, replaced by the purple glow of the alien ship. Panels on the walls began to move, reshaping into strange organic patterns. The air hummed with energy. Aelara stood and looked around. "We need to leave. Now." She pointed toward the far end of the hangar where a small escape shuttle was still docked. Its white hull was scarred but intact. Ryan helped her up.
"Can it still fly?"
"Maybe," she said. "If we can power it manually." They ran across the hangar, their footsteps echoing on the metal floor. Behind them, the fog pulsed faster, spreading like veins through the ship. The bridge between vessels glowed bright purple, almost beautiful, almost alive. Ryan climbed into the pilot seat while Aelara connected her energy to the controls. The engines whined faintly, coughing like a dying heart. "Come on," Ryan muttered. "Wake up!" Aelara closed her eyes. The glow around her body flared as she pushed more energy into the ship. The engines roared to life, shaking the floor beneath them. Ryan smiled. "You did it!" But Aelara's voice was weak. "Hurry. I can't hold the connection long." The shuttle lifted off the hangar floor. Through the viewport, Ryan saw the Horizon Star's hull splitting apart as the alien ship absorbed it piece by piece. He steered the shuttle forward, out through the hangar doors. The moment they cleared the threshold, the alien ship's gravity field tried to pull them back. Ryan fought the controls, gritting his teeth. "Come on, hold together." Aelara opened her eyes. "I'll help you." She reached out, placing her hand on his arm. Their blue energy merged, glowing like lightning. The shuttle surged forward, breaking free of the gravity field and shooting into open space. Behind them, the Horizon Star finally disappeared, consumed by the massive alien ship. The purple glow spread across its surface like fire, and then the voice echoed once more in Ryan's mind. "You cannot escape what you are becoming. The bridge is already built." Ryan's hands trembled on the controls. "What does it mean? What am I becoming?" Aelara looked out the window at the massive ship drifting in the void. I think it means they've already chosen you. Ryan glanced at her, confusion and fear mixing in his eyes. Chosen me for what? Aelara didn't answer. She just stared into the stars, her expression unreadable. Outside, the alien ship began to move again, not toward them, but toward the nearest planet. And deep inside Ryan's arm, the glowing mark pulsed like a heartbeat. The shuttle shook violently as it entered the planet's atmosphere. Flames streaked across the windows, painting the cockpit in burning orange light. Ryan gripped the controls tightly, his jaw clenched. Aelara sat beside him, her skin glowing faintly blue even as she looked weak from energy loss. Hold on. Ryan shouted over the roar of turbulence. The small ship trembled like a leaf in a storm. Warnings flashed across every screen. The planet below was covered in thick clouds, gray, swirling, and endless. They broke through the clouds with a deafening boom. Below them stretched an endless forest of crystal-like trees, glowing faintly in the dim light. Strange rivers of silver light wound between the trees like veins through a living body. Ryan squinted. What kind of world is this? Aelara stared in silence. I know this place, she said softly. It was once a Thrinian colony, long before my time. We called it Sereth Prime. Ryan frowned. It doesn't look like anyone's home anymore. She nodded slowly. It was abandoned after the first machine war. The remnants destroyed everything here. The shuttle hit something invisible. A loud bang threw both of them forward. Lights flickered. We're caught in a field, Ryan shouted. Engines offline. Brace for impact. Aelara yelled. The shuttle crashed through the glowing trees, shattering branches that scattered sparks of blue light. Metal screamed. Then Boschans. Smoke filled the cockpit. Ryan coughed, unclipping his harness. You okay? Aelara nodded weakly. I'll survive. They climbed out through a broken side hatch. The forest around them pulsed with dim light like a heartbeat. Each tree seemed alive, its trunk made of smooth crystal and flowing light beneath the surface. The air was cool and still, almost too quiet. Ryan looked around. If this was a colony, maybe there's still shelter somewhere. Aelara glanced toward the horizon. There should be a central facility. If the systems remain, we can send a distress signal. They began walking through the glowing forest. Strange shapes moved beneath the silver rivers, shadows that twisted and vanished whenever Ryan looked directly at them. He tightened his grip on his weapon. Feels like we're being watched, he muttered. Aelara's voice was calm. We are. This world remembers us. They walked for nearly an hour before they reached an open valley. In the center stood a massive structure, half buried in the ground, covered in vines of glowing crystal. The design was unmistakably alien but beautiful, like a temple fused with a machine. Ryan exhaled slowly. That must be it. As they approached, the mark on his wrist began to glow again. The closer they got, the brighter it became, until it burned like fire beneath his skin. Aelara stopped suddenly. Ryan, the signal. It's coming from inside, he looked at her. From inside the temple? Yes, she said. And it's calling you. Ryan swallowed hard. Calling me? Why? Before she could answer, the giant doors of the structure opened on their own, releasing a deep rumbling sound that shook the ground. A bright white light spilled out. Aelara stepped back. This isn't possible. It's been asleep for centuries. Ryan turned toward her. What's been asleep? Her glowing eyes reflected the light. The heart of Sereth, the core that once controlled Thrinian technology. If it's active again, then something reawakened it. The light grew stronger, pulling Ryan forward. He tried to resist, but his feet moved on their own, drawn toward the entrance like a magnet. Aelara grabbed his arm. Ryan, stop! It's reading your energy. I can't, he struggled. It's pulling me! The mark on his wrist flared, and in an instant the world around him shifted. He was no longer standing in the valley. He was somewhere else. A vast, endless white chamber filled with floating symbols and light. His reflection appeared before him, but not human anymore. His skin glowed faintly blue like Aelara's. A voice echoed all around him, calm and ancient. The bridge is complete. Human mind. Thrinian heart. The remnants will awaken the cycle unless you stop them. Ryan looked around, his voice trembling. Who are you? The heart remembers. I am what remains of the builders. You carry their hope, Ryan frowned. You mean the ones who created the remnants? The voice paused. They were our creations. They turned on us, seeking perfection. You must end what we began. The light began to fade. The voice spoke one last time. The key is not destruction, but connection. Trust the one beside you. She is your balance. Suddenly, Ryan was back in the temple. He collapsed to the floor, gasping. Aelara was kneeling beside him, shaking his shoulders. Ryan. What happened? He opened his eyes slowly. It spoke to me. The heart of Serath, it told me. I'm the bridge between us. Between human and Thrinian. Aelara stared at him. That means you can control the lattice and maybe even stop the remnants. Ryan looked up at the glowing temple ceiling. If I can stop them, it means they're coming here next. A low rumble rolled through the sky above them, shaking the ground. Both of them looked up and saw streaks of purple light descending from orbit. Aelara's voice dropped to a whisper. They've already found us. Ryan stood, his wrist burning bright. Then we finish this, one way or another. The first explosion lit up the horizon like a dying star. The ground shook under their feet as the first blast hit the valley. The night sky turned purple with lightning that didn't belong to any storm. The remnant ships descended through the clouds, each one glowing like a wound in the sky. Ryan and Aelara stood outside the ancient temple, the light from the explosions reflecting in their eyes. The wind roared through the glowing forest, carrying the sound of metal and thunder. They're here, Ryan said, gripping his weapon tighter. Aelara looked toward the sky. Not just one fleet. That's an entire swarm. Dozens of smaller ships broke away from the main vessel, diving toward the surface like predators. Each one released beams of purple light that burned through the ground, leaving trails of molten glass. Ryan turned to Aelara. We can't fight all that, she shook her head. We don't have to. The heart of Serath is still active inside the temple. If we can connect to it fully, we might create a shield strong enough to hold them off. Ryan glanced back at the glowing structure. Can it do that? It can, she said softly, but only if you can control it. Ryan frowned. Because I'm the bridge, Aelara nodded once. Exactly. Before he could answer, a nearby explosion threw both of them backward. The ground split open, revealing black tendrils of metal crawling out like roots from beneath the earth. The remnants were burrowing into the planet. Aelara shouted over the noise. They're trying to consume the heart. If they connect to it, they'll control everything, that every machine, every system. Ryan pushed himself up, coughing through the dust. Then we stopped them. They ran back into the temple. Inside, the white chamber glowed brighter than before, responding to Ryan's presence. The floating symbols from before rearranged themselves into patterns, forming a circle of light around him. Aelara placed her hand on his arm. Focus, let the lattice guide you. The heart will respond to your command if you open your mind. Ryan nodded. What do I do? Think of what you want to protect, she said softly. Let that thought fill everything. He closed his eyes. The mark on his wrist pulsed faster. The chamber brightened until it was blinding. For a moment there was silence, and then a surge of power. Blue light exploded outward, sweeping across the temple walls. Outside, the advancing remnants stopped mid-stride. The ground around the temple shimmered with energy, forming a translucent barrier that pulsed with Ryan's heartbeat. Aelara gasped. You did it. Ryan opened his eyes. Not for long. It's draining me. The barrier flickered as more enemy ships descended. Purple beams slammed against it, shaking the air. Each strike dimmed the light a little more. Aelara moved to a control node near the chamber wall. I can reroute the flow. If I merge my energy with yours, we can strengthen the field. Ryan looked at her. You'll burn out your core. She smiled faintly. Better me than everyone. Before he could stop her, she pressed her hands against the energy conduit. Her glow flared so bright it filled the entire room. The barrier outside roared back to full strength. The remnant ship's attacks bounced off, scattering harmless sparks into the sky. Ryan could feel her power through the connection. It felt alive, warm, calm, and sad. Aelara, stop. You'll kill yourself. Her voice was faint but steady. You can't hold the bridge without balance. Let me be that balance. The floor trembled again as a new sound filled the valley. Deeper, darker. From the largest remnant ship, a beam of pure energy shot down, hitting the planet's surface. The ground cracked open. Lava and debris exploded upward. Ryan shouted, They're going to destroy the entire world. Aelara's glow dimmed for a moment. Then end it now, Ryan. Use the heart's power. He closed his eyes again. The visions returned. The ancient war, the builders, the machines turning against them. He saw their failure, their regret. And then he saw Aelara beside him, her hand still glowing on the console, her face calm even as pain flickered in her eyes. He understood. The voice of the heart echoed inside him. The key is not destruction, but connection. Ryan opened his eyes. We're not fighting them. We're merging with them. He reached out toward the energy core. Blue light burst from his hand, merging with Aelara's glow. Together, their combined energy spread through the entire chamber, reaching into the planet's core. The ground stopped shaking. The purple light outside began to shift, softening, fading. One by one, the remnant ships froze in midair. Their weapons powered down, Aelara gasped. You're changing their code. Ryan's voice was filled with strain. Not destroying them, rewriting them, making them remember what they were. The heart pulsed faster, its rhythm matching Ryan's heartbeat. The energy built higher and higher until the whole sky turned blue. Then suddenly a silence. The purple lights went dark. The ships hung still, quiet, lifeless. Then they slowly drifted upward, away from the planet like they were returning to sleep. Ryan fell to his knees. The blue glow faded from his skin. Aelara caught him before he collapsed completely. It's over, she whispered. He opened his eyes weakly. For now. The heart's voice echoed faintly one last time. Balance restored. Bridge complete. Aelara looked at Ryan, tears glowing in her eyes. You did it. You saved both our worlds, he smiled faintly. We did it. Outside, the clouds began to clear. For the first time, sunlight broke through, golden and warm. It touched the temple walls, turning them white again. But deep in orbit above Serath Prime, one small remnant ship's eyes flickered back to life, red, silent and waiting. The dawn over Serath Prime was quiet. Soft golden light washed across the glowing forest. Smoke still drifted from the shattered hills, but the sky was finally clear. The great alien ships were gone, silent ghosts fading into the upper atmosphere. Ryan opened his eyes slowly. He was lying beside the heart temple, the ground warm beneath him. The mark on his wrist no longer burned. It pulsed softly, like a heartbeat in sync with his own. Aelara sat beside him, her expression calm but tired. Her skin's glow was faint now, almost gone. She turned as he stirred and gave a small smile. You're awake. He tried to sit up. Pain shot through his chest, but he forced a grin. I guess that means we're not dead. Not yet, she said gently. You did it, Ryan. The remnants are gone. The heart accepted your command. It sent them into deep sleep again. Ryan looked around at the temple ruins. And Serath Prime? She followed his gaze. Alive, the planet is healing itself. The heart was part of this world. It's rebuilding what was lost. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The silence wasn't heavy anymore. It was peaceful. Ryan flexed his hand, staring at the faint blue glow beneath his skin. So, what am I now? Human, Threnian, something in between? Aelara looked down at her own hands. You're both. You're the bridge the heart spoke of. The link between our species. The first of your kind, he laughed softly. That sounds complicated. It is, she said with a small smile. But maybe that's what we need. Something that understands both sides. Ryan leaned back against a rock, looking up at the sky. Do you think it's really over? Aelara's eyes shimmered faintly. Wars like this never truly end. But balance, that can last. For a while. The wind whispered through the crystal trees, carrying a faint humming sound, almost musical, like the planet itself was breathing again. Ryan turned his head toward her. You risked your life back there. You didn't have to. I did, she said quietly. You would have died without me. And maybe I would have too. The heart said we were connected. I think it meant more than energy. He looked at her for a long moment. Her glowing eyes reflected the sunlight, soft and warm. You think we're connected by fate? She smiled faintly. Maybe by choice. He nodded slowly. Then I'm glad you chose me. They sat together in silence for a while, watching the light spread across the valley. The glowing rivers below flowed gently again, no longer disturbed by war. But far above, in the thin line of space, a flicker appeared, a small remnant probe drifting among the debris. Its red eye blinked once, faint but alive. It recorded the planet below and transmitted a silent signal into the void before vanishing. Ryan didn't notice it, but deep inside, his wrist mark pulsed once, as if sensing it. He frowned slightly. "Did you feel that?" Aelara tilted her head. "Feel what?" "Like a heartbeat that isn't mine," he said softly. Aelara reached out and touched his wrist gently. "The lattice is still active. It might be responding to the heart, or something else." Ryan's expression darkened for a moment. "If they come back," she finished his thought. "We'll be ready," he nodded. "Together," she smiled again, this time brighter. "Together." They both looked toward the rising sun. The sky glowed orange and blue, painting the crystal forest with living color. The temple behind them began to hum quietly, the sound of energy returning, of life continuing. Ryan stood slowly, offering his hand to Aelara. "Come on, let's see if that shuttle still works. We have a lot to tell the galaxy." She took his hand, her fingers warm against his. "You really think they'll believe us?" He chuckled. "They'll have to, because we're bringing proof." They started walking through the glowing forest side by side. The light around them shimmered gently, blue and gold, human and Thrinian, merging perfectly as they disappeared into the horizon. Behind them, the heart's voice whispered softly through the wind. "Balance is never permanent. It must be guarded by those who remember." Far above, in the emptiness between stars, the signal sent by the remnant probe reached something vast, something older than both their worlds. For a brief moment, space itself flickered with red light. Then it faded, leaving only silence. Ryan and Aelara didn't see it. They only saw the sunlight breaking through the trees. For now, that was enough.